the spawn meets world, spawn meets world. When the spawn meets world.
What up, bros?
What up, bruh?
And welcome to Bruh Meets World.
When it's Bruh Meets World.
Your Boy Meets World fan cast. Welcome to episode 34. I'm Ceej.
And I am TC.
And we have a guest today.
Woo woo! Yeah,
Erini.
You want me to say my name?
Yeah, go for it.
Erini, hey!
Yeah. Hey, Erini. Thanks for joining us today. She literally came in like in the last minute. I watched that episode and I was like, this needs another voice.
You know what? And I'm so glad that you're here because I literally thought the same thing. The entire episode, which is funny, it's about like men trying to figure out what women want from other men. And I was like, oh man, like they just need to talk to women. We should talk to women.
Yeah,
and then you came, and now that kind of settles the whole issue.
When he said that and I pressed play on the episode, like within 2 minutes, I was like, oh, I get it. I get why you need me to come through.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. We've been talking, like the last few episodes have been very like female heavy or like about how this show doesn't handle women really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw this episode, I was like, we can't just do it again with just the two of us.
This was a
Okay,
good one.
so we have questions that we ask everyone. And just be completely honest, what's your history with Boy Meets World? Like,
I never like watched it like consistently, but I would watch it sporadically throughout childhood. So I'd watch it when it was on ABC, then I watched it when it was on Disney Channel. But I don't think I've ever sat and like watched a whole season in its entirety, like episode to episode. But there's all the different nuggets and like the key, like the big, you know, the cabin episode, the ski trip, and all that stuff. I remember those. So yeah.
The anxiety.
Yes.
the ski trip episode is so funny to me because it's like I remember it, but I never thought it was as big of a deal as it was.
Oh,
when I
watched it live, and it was a very big deal.
What I'm saying is, like, I'll talk to strangers, and they're like, "Oh, like everyone remembers that episode." And I think for some reason, our young hearts, the episode where Corey cheats on Topanga is just like a moment.
Because they were Corey and Topanga, and like also like. Corey, like how could he cheat?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
well, I have my own thoughts about that, but
well, he does. But I think it's one of those things where Boy Meets World taught us very early on that like even nice guys fuck up, nice. And we just chose to ignore that part
until we couldn't ignore it anymore.
Exactly.
I would say that I think that and the Scream episode are probably the most memorable episodes that people have of the show.
Her name made a cameo. The Scream.
Yeah, when
Jennifer Love
Hewitt.
Yeah. That's such a good.
Those whenever I bring up the show, those are the two episodes that people always reference.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, did you remember this episode?
I didn't, but I remembered, you know, all of the like I remember that Frankie guy, and I just like remember them, and then they just like disappeared. So I was like, oh yeah, these guys.
As with most '90s sitcoms, people just come and go. You're like, oh, you're such a big person, and like the next episode, we never hear from you again. Yeah. How was your high school experience? Like, who were you in high school?
I don't think I had like that strong. Like, I didn't fit into like one group or another. I wasn't like. I kind of was like a floater. So my first 2 years, I played hockey and with like the boys, and then I had just friends in different pockets. But I didn't really love high school or like hate it that much. High school is always just a means to get to college. So
yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about this show.
Yeah,
it's like we're just doing what we can till we get to college. So
I don't know. I would argue that their last years in high school are the strongest of the show, but. That's just me. Very
good argument. I'm not going to fight you on that. Okay, so are you guys ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm so ready. I have so many thoughts on this whole thing. And I apologize because I know you're not as familiar with the show. So if we talk about the history of the show, I don't want to lose you too much. But there's just a lot as far as our theories of the Frankie character that come to light in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That I'm interested in discussing.
You'll probably just like trigger different nuggets because I did watch like a bunch of it. It's like when I was doing homework and stuff. So it was like a background noise for a lot of my like middle and high school time.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I love it. All right, so a few morning announcements, just kind of like news I wanted to say. I think both Ben Savage and Danielle Fishel are getting new shows. So like we just need to check those out.
What? That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, I think like they both announced that they're getting new shows, and that's always cool to like see what they're doing and up to. So yeah,
I just love them. Just keep working, guys. I love seeing you.
exactly. Also, I mean, like, I'm like in the most non creepy way. Ben Savage lives in Santa Monica. He's like right there, and like they were both in Venice the other day. Because Instagram tells you all these things. I'm not stalking them. And I'm just like, I just don't know what I'll do if I like run into them.
You just, bro, I know you don't want to be that person. You have to take a picture.
Yeah, you have to be that person, don't you? Like, I feel like if I have a podcast dedicated around you, it's like legit for me to be that person.
Pretty big fan.
Okay, all right, tell me about it.
Tell me about it.
Okay, this is episode 13 of season 2, Cyrano. In a retelling of Shakespeare's Cyrano, Corey and Sean help Frankie the Enforcer woo Harley's lady, Gloria. When the betrayal is revealed, Harley surprises everyone by seeking advice from the most unlikely of sources. Corey's mom, Amy, who is in the middle of her own B story when Alan buys her a trash compactor for their anniversary. Okay, first thoughts. What are your first thoughts? We'll let you take the floor.
I've witnessed the whole like Corey's mom and dad situation probably a dozen times at least in my childhood, to the point where my mom will just text me like, tell your dad this is exactly what I want for Christmas or my birthday or Mother's Day. Like, don't leave him to his own devices, because he's not coming from a bad place, but that's just like how a lot of men think. They're like, oh, you said you needed some shoes, like running shoes? I got you some running shoes. And like, that's not like, why would you like that? And it's kind of something like I've learned to accept. And I get it too with my dad. I'm like, oh wow, like it's nice that you actually went out and got me something, but this is not me at all. If this is something you also bought my grandmother, I don't know why you think I would like this too.
It's really funny to me because my mom did things completely differently. Like by the time I was 12, my mom was like, yeah, I don't like this gift. And I was like, wait, what? But I went out and I like made you this, or I got you this with my money. And she's like, yeah, I don't like it.
Oh, she did that to you? I thought you were saying,
no, she did it to me. Like, I was like 12 years old. I was like, Mom, I got you this thing for your birthday. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not cutting it. And so I learned.
You learned the hard way that you gotta think when you buy
exactly.
kids.
I definitely feel that there was a lot of learning that happened. Well, I hope happened on the show. The one thing I will say about the Amy storyline, just my first initial reaction was, I understand exactly where she's coming from. I'm 100% on board with it. But I did feel like she throws a lot of shade at Alan for this thing, and I just didn't feel all the shade was deserving. I felt like, oh, he obviously felt bad about it, and he like, oh, I cleaned the gutters, like I'm doing chores around the house to make up for it, and she was still just like mad shade at him.
Well, no, here's the thing. I'm gonna defend Amy real quick because my first thoughts was, I think this may be my favorite episode so far, because we use every single character, with the exception of Morgan, is used in the right way. Like
everyone forgot about Morgan. The writers forgot about Morgan.
Well, actually, they mentioned Morgan. He was like, Alan's like, oh, I did something with Morgan, like I helped her with her homework or something like that. So even she's mentioned. We use every character in the right way for the right amount of time, and we even get like the classic Feeny that we haven't gotten in a while.
That's a note I took as well. And I was like, this might be our first episode this season that there's a Feeny by the fence lesson talk.
Exactly.
And I felt like the last few episodes definitely needed more aged wisdom and less the boys figuring shit out on their own.
Exactly. And so so there's that, but then also Amy is right. They've been married for 17 years. If you don't know by now, like that's another thing. It's just like
you ain't never ever know me.
Exactly.
No, you don't. Ooh.
Nice reference. But no, it's one of those things where listening to it, like, first of all, trash compactor for an anniversary gift.
Jesus Christ, bro. Trash compactor?
Like,
are you serious?
It has the word trash in it. It cannot be a gift. It can never be a gift if it has the word trash in it.
Very good point. But not only that, I was like, where this comes from is it's an idea of him being like, oh, she was like always talking about this and that this is something she wanted. Yeah, but she didn't want it for herself. She's not just like laying on bed being like, oh my god, a trash compactor would make my day. That's something for the family.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what this family needs? Do you know what us as a unit could use? And he's like, oh, this will really make her day. Well, how is you getting a gift for the entire family making my day? And that's where I was like, no, Amy has every right to just look at him.
I kind of want to argue a little bit on Alan's behalf, and I never agree with Alan. I don't like him as a character. But to me, it did feel like, at least in his mind, he was being thoughtful. He was like, you know what she's been talking about for a really long time? Like, to him, this was a sincere, like, I put thought into this. It just wasn't what you wanted, which is fine. I can get you something else, but don't be mean to me about it. I don't know.
Excuse me. She said exactly what the problem was, which is like, this would have been a great gift for Tuesday. Like,
which I totally agree with.
The problem wasn't that he got her a trash compactor. It's the fact that he saved it for their anniversary. And
he was so proud. It was so like sad, just like because we all knew what was gonna happen.
Exactly.
Like, even he was like in his head, like I got his trash compactor. And was like,
what's funny? Oh, I'm so sorry. What's funny is that even Eric, in his young age, seems to understand that this isn't something they want their names on.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like Feeney, like here's the thing. He goes, "You put coal in that thing, you get diamonds." And Feeney's like, "Maybe that's where you should have gone with this." And I don't like it doesn't always have to be jewelry, but it is something that's like, how about this is your anniversary? How about something for her specifically, like that Amy would like, and not something that you were just like, oh, don't get me wrong, like you wanted this, but like, how was this like?
I feel like Christmas would be a great opportunity for this. Go the hell out of Philadelphia. Like, go on a vacation. Like, what are you doing, Alan?
Exactly. So I don't know. That's my first thoughts. Any other feedback?
Just that we learn a lot about Frankie in this episode. I don't know if you know this, but we've have this theory that Frankie might be gay, which ended up not being the case in this episode. But we've had a lot of evidence to support that argument.
Say that again.
We said it in this episode because I don't know. I don't remember Frankie's storyline other than he disappears. But I can see that there being arguments from what I do remember about him, and even in this episode.
Also, it's high school. I mean, like I dated women in high school. It doesn't really mean anything. We can just check
one thing
with her.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say is that I feel like Frankie's feelings towards Gloria, who I have a whole lot of thoughts about.
We're about to go into roll call.
Is what I think is the defining issue with the show, which is this kind of overly fairy-taled, flowery love that doesn't seem to be coming from anywhere sincere or genuine. He doesn't even really know her, yet he's willing to sacrifice a friendship and like say my love is an ocean. Like, it doesn't really mean anything. And I just feel like that's part of the issue I have with the legacy of Boy Meets World, is this idea that like love is the most important thing and you're nothing without love, and it has to be this really fairy tale romantic Cory and Topanga romance, when I just don't feel like that's a very attainable thing to put out there. So I don't know.
I think a lot of youths are just in love with the idea of being in love, and I feel like even as the episode went on and he kept talking and like saying all these quotes, I'm like, dude, you gotta chill. I don't feel like this is a lot for this girl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you loved her that much. But yeah.
I mean, I also always remember that this is in fact a high school show. Mm-hmm. So it's like at that point in time, you are like you're like, this is love, and that's because you have nothing else to like compare it to.
I guess that's true. It's a very realistic, I guess, point of view from Frankie's character at his age.
Exactly. And I also think that we learned a lot about Harley. I was surprised by Harley in this episode.
Yeah, no,
like we were like heading towards stereotype Cliff, and then it took a sharp turn, and I was like, ooh, I like this.
Yeah.
To your point, people constantly are leaving the show, and it feels like this is the second episode in which we've really developed Harley as a character, for him to simply disappear at the end of the season for the most part. So I'm not sure why we're continuing to get these storylines that strengthen him as a character versus Sean or Topanga or someone who's actually going to be sticking around.
Yeah, we even get some Topanga this episode, and again,
little bit.
We get the good Topanga. Yeah. We don't get like the daddy's taking me shopping Topanga.
Yeah.
we get like the Topanga where she's saying exactly. Yeah.
I read this book and I understand it.
Exactly. Okay, so roll call real quick. Gloria. Let's talk about Gloria.
I don't get it. Like,
yeah, can you tell me?
I just ending. I was like, okay, I guess this is just teenage love where she's the most popular or the prettiest girl in the high school, so everyone's for some reason head over heels in love with her. But I was like, dude, chill. It's not that exciting.
For me, it was way more of a she's the only other person willing to entertain their Italian stereotype. So
yeah, that's that. My note was we meet Gloria, who is essentially a Guido version of Sandy from Greece, and I'm just still left wondering what time period are we in on this show, because it's 1990s, yet Harley and Gloria are straight out of Greece.
So wait, just a quick question. Gloria hadn't appeared in
no,
episodes
this is
before
her
this.
very
Okay, this
first
is her
episode.
first episode. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was like, is this girl? But then it makes more sense that she really was new to everyone.
Yeah, she was new to everyone, and like again, like I guess it kind of makes sense that they were like, who would a greaser like Harley be dating?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, how about we go Sandra Dee post makeover? And you're just like, okay, again, this makes no sense, but I mean, why couldn't she just be a person?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's my other issue with Gloria as well, is that she's immediately when we're introduced to her, she's just arguing with Harley in the hallway. And we see Frankie just like kind of sad because he's just so in love with this girl he can't have, this unrequited romance. But there's nothing about Gloria that we see that would make her like a person that you would want him to be with. Like, who is Gloria that we're rooting for this romance? Like, who is she for him to love her like that? Because all we've seen is arguing.
No, exactly. And what she's mad about is like, I can kind of get the argument, but it's not as like, it's not same as like Amy and what's the dad's name? Alan.
Yeah,
it's like not nearly on that level. So I'm just like,
yeah. Although I will say they had like a few fun bits, like when he was like, "You got me tires" or something like that for our anniversary.
Yeah, that one was.
And he's like, "I got you tires." She's like, "You got me 3." And I was like, "That's funny."
You know what? And at one point in the show, I'm just like, "Damn, trash compactor and tires are practical ass gifts." Like, do you know how much tires are? Yeah. 3 tires?
Yeah,
you're talking about like $400, man. That I don't know.
Again, I understand what you're saying. No one's saying that practical gifts shouldn't be received. Everyone's saying that practical gifts during anniversary are an easy way out, which is even what like Feeney is basically saying. He's like, you chose like the easiest thing,
you didn't have to think.
So you didn't have to think about her.
What do you think about this idea of just like people having different understandings of what romance is? Because what's interesting is a few episodes prior to this, we meet Harley's little sister who disappeared forever. And in that episode, she's in love with Corey. And she's sending him all of these elaborate gifts like steaks. Yeah. And so what if they're just in a household where you give someone tires and steaks and things like that for your anniversary? Like, what if people just have a different understanding of traditional romance?
Yeah, gift giving. We talked about this. The love language in this family is gift giving.
Yeah, and it just I don't know. I just feel like some of these gifts, although not what you would think of immediately as an anniversary gift, it does seem like there is some thought being put, at least on Alan's part, there is some thought being put into the gift, whether or not it was a good idea or a bad idea.
It sounds to me like you are being very defensive. And
I never defend Alan. I genuinely have disliked him as a character up until this point, but I don't know. I felt that we can keep going. I won't.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I will say that, like, all right. So to get back to the episode, talking to the episode, we start off with like the Cyrano plot. You know, like they're reading Cyrano.
This classic literary work that we've gotten to again. This is our 14th book we've read this year so far.
So our theory is, our theory is that they have one of those textbooks where it's like you get like a chapter or two of each of the because there's no way they're reading these books.
Sean's not reading 14 books.
That's a very good point.
13
there's
episodes.
No way Sean's reading.
And so what's interesting is that we are talking about Cyrano, which is this, this character that is kind of not traditionally attractive, and he helps this other man get this woman that he's in love with. And Turner's like, hey guys, what do you think about this? And all the guys think it's they call him a dip, which I'm not really sure what that is. And then all the girls are like, it's romantic. And then Topanga says something which is really interesting.
Boys don't understand passion and romance, and will never understand women. And that's why all of you will spend half your lives confused and the other half paying alimony.
Which I just thought was a really funny bit. And it's also, it makes me wonder, because we talk about this all the time about how, overall, the stories don't seem to favor women, but it does seem there's at least one woke chick in that writer's room who inserts lines like this, who speaks for Topanga. And where is she when all of these overarching themes, which are kind of playing women down, where is she then to kind of interject and be like, hey, maybe it should be more than just one Topanga line that sticks up for women?
I love that you said that, because how I looked at this episode was, again, we like the past few episodes have been really shitty towards women.
Yeah.
And I feel like whoever was in the writer room was like, you know what, we gotta fix this.
Yeah.
Because this whole episode, the theme is like listen to women and consider what women want. And I like that. I just feel like whoever was in the writing room was like, yeah, we need to rework this and really consider the female characters in our stories. So
yeah,
be interesting to see, like, just look at the credits and see the changes, because clearly there's something happened where we dropped half these characters. Like, something happened here, and just wondering if those were, studio notes or what. But clearly they're starting to make some changes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, if it was studio notes or not. But also I feel that someone mentioned, or I was looking at something on our Twitter, and someone was like, they talked about how what they did with this series is something that you don't really get to do very often, which is like they just experimented. They just kept trying new things, and then whatever works, they went with. And I think that's important.
That is true.
Which, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Changes and cast changes that you, as a kid, might have seemed weird, but as an adult, you're like, oh yeah, they were really just making a lot of choices and trying out and seeing what would stuck. And I think by high school, they found their rhythm.
Yeah.
Just what I was going to say to your point about shows having their time to find their voice and kind of figure out their characters. Not something you really see anymore. Did you notice that they're bringing back TGIF? I saw a trailer for it. And it has Fresh Off the Boat. It has that Speechless sitcom. And it also has a new show with Fred Savage. Fred Savage, Ben's older brother, from Wonder Years. And I was just interested to see, like, wow, I wonder if ABC is still going to let these shows take some time to like I don't know how well Speechless is doing, but there's a new show with Fred Savage, and I'm just interested, like, I don't know. Well, like, it doesn't seem like television now gives a lot of time to experiment anymore. So I think that is kind of the great thing about 90s, is that, when you didn't have the competition of cable and Netflix, you when there was only a handful of channels, you kind of felt a little bit more secure in your place and didn't feel the need to kind of rush things off the air as quickly.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing with Fresh Off the Boat, because Fresh Off the Boat definitely has gone through some changes. I remember the first, like, the series creator left the show after the first season. Yeah.
He did the narrations too, right?
Exactly.
The first season.
And then they got rid of it and they just changed some things up, which is, like, it's unfortunate. I don't know what he wanted to do, but Fresh Off the Boat was like a really funny sitcom, and it's set in Orlando, which is also like really funny.
Yeah,
it's always funny to see like Hollywood's take on Orlando.
What we have is this overall theme of men have a hard time understanding what women find romantic, and I'm interested, now that we have a female guest, do you feel this is an accurate like, have you experienced a lot of this, of like men trying to do things that were romantic and just failing miserably, even though they have good intention?
It's hard to find men to try and do anything romantic
Thank
these
you.
days.
So here's the thing.
I can't even get them to do the basic communication.
So Erini and I really bonded over like dating and like dating boys in LA in general. And so it was really funny to me when you asked that question, because my initial thought was like, oh wait, they're doing romantic shit? Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm not getting a lot of romantic shit. I'm like still working on like, hey, can you just like text me a couple times a day?
Exactly. So if someone gave you tires, you would actually find that to be quite romantic.
Tires, maybe not, but you know, the traditional like, oh, don't get me pots and pans gift, I would take that at this point. I'm like, you know what? You know I've been doing some cooking, so I'll take that pot.
Yeah.
I'll take some pot too.
Exactly. I'll take some pot. Yeah.
Give me something. Like this whole like I like Ubered all the way to your house. It's not like that romantic. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
That's like the bare minimum. Like guys get away with the bare minimum these days, and that's why we're not getting romantic gestures anymore.
I mean, we really like the bar for dudes is like so low. I feel like we dug a trench and and like that's where the bar is because again, like it's crazy that like even the idea of like what is romantic anymore? Like what would you consider romantic, especially like I don't know.
At this point, like I had like one guy plan a date, like, and it was a nice date, but it was like that was like so romantic because he just planned a date. He wasn't like, yo, want to come over or you want to get a drink. Like it's like, oh wow, we had dinner and drinks and dessert. Like wow, that's amazing.
Oh, he likes it.
Yeah, that's like the how high romance has gotten so for me.
TC, where are you at? What are you doing?
Well, here's the thing: is that I grew up on Boy Meets World, so I try to do romantic shit all the time. Like I'm always trying to be kind of over the top, but I also understand that this was something that television taught me what love was. Like it taught me that this is part of love. Which don't get me wrong, no one seems to dislike it when I do grand romantic gestures, but to I learned love from television almost exclusively because my parents divorced at a young age. So I never saw like that around growing up. So yeah, I've always tried to infuse a lot of romance and kind of even sitcom romance into relationships, which again, people seem to enjoy, but at the same time, growing up I had to learn what was sincere and what was over the top and try to find that line.
Yeah. What would you say, Erini? Would you say that you're romantic? Like, do you like romance?
I'd say I'm like a mid romantic. I think if you're like, if it's too over the top, that would be a little like what. But I like little romantic gestures and stuff like that. If you get like super over the top, then I just start to question why it's happening.
Yeah.
That's just my own thing, but.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like I know a lot of guys, a lot of people who grew up watching these sitcoms, and they must have just not been paying attention or taking anything to heart. Like, I bet, like, I could text a bunch of dudes on my phone, be like, did you watch Boy Meets World? And be like, oh yeah, I totally watched it, I love it. But they don't do any of that or take any of it to heart.
It's really funny to me because you're right. Like I always think about I hate the movie The Notebook, but I remember when it came out, I had all these guys who were just like, it's just like they're so romantic. It's like the most romantic movie you've ever seen. And I was like, really? But like they love that movie, and so like there is a part of me that understands that guys do know what romance is. Like they have an understanding of it.
Game recognizes game, bruh.
But does it? I mean, like, rewatch that movie. It's a lot of, like, I don't know.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I'd be very interested to rewatch that movie and give you my notes.
I'm gonna send you, like, this synopsis of the movie, but it hits it right on the nail. It's pretty funny.
Sure.
Watching that movie, I was like, that's too much. This is overwhelming me. So, obviously, maybe I'm not as romantic as I think I am, but because I was not one of those girls who thought that was, like, oh, that's what I want.
Yeah. I am a romantic, but I'm also a realist. So it's like you said, it's like if the setting or if like the thing feels normal, then yeah, it's romantic and like that's really cool. I've literally gone on several dates, which I don't know what that means, but I've been on several dates like where it's just like a walk on the beach and we're like just walking and talking. I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah, sincerity plays a huge part in romance. Like, it needs to feel like it's coming from a place where you're like, hey, I'm genuinely, trying to think of something that would be good for you, trying to, like, create a romantic setting. I'm putting thought into this without it coming across like, I'm doing this, so now you owe me. Like, it just needs to have this, like, feeling of being thoughtful, but not being, like you're trying to get something in return.
Yeah. And I think you can read that sincerity in the smallest of gestures and the biggest of gestures.
That's a really good way. So, go ahead.
Ceej, I have a question for you.
Yes.
This whole episode is about the, what men find romantic versus what women find romantic. And I'm interested if there's that same dynamic in same-sex relationships.
You know, it's funny. Erini, the first thing Erini said to me was, she was like, I don't know if gay men are like, if they have like this same problem. When I was watching this episode, a boyfriend from a while ago, he would do this thing where he would like just buy me things that like he would buy me things as like a way of me being like, oh, you know, I really like that blue shirt, like just in passing. And then like I'd show up and he's like, oh, I bought this blue shirt for you. And it was just like this whole thing where it's like, well, like I said that, but like I didn't want, you know, it's like I didn't want it. He had like money issues and trouble, and a lot of it came because he would like just buy me these gifts because like that was his idea of romance. And to apologize, he would buy me flowers. And I was like, you're not getting the core issue.
Yeah.
Buying expensive flowers is the wrong response to that.
So would you say that this episode is more and less of a gender issue and more of a love language issue?
About to say love language. I was like, I wish, just in general of TV and sitcoms, I wish there was more people in those writers' rooms that were like, you know, it's a love language? Communication. You know, it's a love language, just quality time. Because it seems like throughout like all of our childhood in movies, TVs, the love language that's always being shown is gift giving and big romantic gestures, and not like the act of service, or I forgot the other one, but I just
so I love that you said that, because two things. To answer your question, TC, the guy I'm seeing right now, I was literally like, there was like a time, he won't listen to this, so I feel fine, but like there was this time where I was like kind of getting frustrated because I felt like we weren't really like on the same wavelengths in like communication or something. And I was I was like, oh, you know what? He probably has a different love language than I do. And I just need to figure out what that is. But I also let it be known that mine is like communication. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of like said something, or like I brought it up and I was just like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And from that day forward, he literally texted me like at least once a day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, you know what? That actually made a really big difference. This like doubt that I had, and like this whole,
Did you send him a link, or what did you do?
No,
I need to do this.
I literally like it's that thing where it's like,
I need to know verbatim what you said, copy and paste it to me.
Exactly.
You just have to, it's that thing where you have to risk your own feelings and be like, okay, as much as I would love for you to get this on your own, and like that would, like you getting this on your own would totally tell me that like we're meant to be and stuff like that. I was like, that's unrealistic just as much as the romantic gesture is. Like, he doesn't know me. We're getting to know each other. So I just went up to him and I was like, hey, I was like, do I communicate to you too much? Like, is the amount that I'm texting you a lot? Like, is it like excessive for you? Because for me, I like with you and TC, I get text messages throughout the day. Like that's just and so for me, someone texting me or communicating with me throughout the day, that's my way of being like, oh, you're on my mind, even if I don't see you. And I don't need to be around you in order to like know that you care. And again, all I said was like, hey, am I communicating with you too much? And his response was like, no, he's like, you message me literally like once every 2 days. He's like, it's fine. And I was like, what you don't know is I pace those things out so I don't seem obsessive. But
There's a lot of thought that goes behind
a lot of thought goes behind.
This is strategic.
Yeah. But he was like, again, after I kind of brought that up, I think he like took it in, and like literally from that point forward, he messaged me like, and he would like do this thing where it's like, all right, yeah, if you brought it up, then apparently this is something that's on your mind, and I will address it in my way. And he doesn't text me like 9 times a day, but it's just there was an increase, and I noticed it and I appreciated it.
Yeah, to your point, I think the biggest issue in relationships that we never see on television is people figuring out other people's love languages. Because I feel like that's something that's the most challenging aspect of an actual relationship that I've never seen accurately discussed or dissected on television.
No, that's literally what I was thinking when we were talking about this. Is like, we've never seen them go through the steps of figuring each other out. And I think for a lot of people, if we showed that in some sort of way, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, it's very, very helpful.
I remember like this guy that I was seeing was like, oh, like, well, I was thinking about you and I thought I texted you. I'm like, well, but you didn't. So like, but in his head, he's like, well, I do care because I thought I did do this. And it's just like, we don't see these little like moments in like outplayed in the media.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. It's like, I thought about it, so that counts. It's the thought that counts. It's like, it does not.
I can't read your mind. I don't know that you thought that you texted me 4 hours ago.
Exactly.
I had a quote from the show that I wanted to talk to you guys about because I just thought this was really interesting and well written. Feeney and Alan are having a discussion by the fence. Feeney says something to the effect of,
"On the husband highway, there's very little forward traffic. Just a million well-intentioned men backing up frantically."
You've been down that highway before, huh, George?
Yes, I have. Before it was paved.
which I thought was just such an interesting, well-written joke, because basically what he's saying is, like, there was no one there to help me when I made these mistakes. Like, I'm here to help you. And which gets me wondering, like, I know we've met Alan's mom before. We never meet his dad. I'm assuming he's passed away. We don't meet Amy's parents. And I'm just interested why Alan doesn't have anyone to talk to about this. Like, why is Feeney the only person who can give him this advice? And maybe I'm thinking too much into the dynamics of the show. But
actually, if we want to go into the history of the show, I think you just kind of leaned into something, which is that we know for a fact that Alan's mom's love language is gift giving. Remember, she like came in and she gave the kids all these gifts.
Oh yeah,
she was not there. Like she in an earlier episode of the last season, she comes in and she like gives all these people's gifts and she makes all these promises, but she doesn't follow through. And it's something that Alan's like, look, that's just her. She means well. And she goes about it. But that would totally lead. I really don't think they thought about this, but like it does explain that Alan's just kind of like, oh, giving gifts and being here is the best way for me to show you that I love you. And for Amy and for like everyone else, we're like, that's good, but like take it a step further.
Yeah.
I do think it's probably wasn't a conscious choice by a writer, but that was probably the same writer, and that's projecting this. Like, it has a very clear pattern, and they probably picked that up from somewhere.
It's funny, like, that's true. Like, you know, there's only a handful of writers. I'm wondering if, like, we're learning more about the writers through these episodes than we are about the characters.
Oh, that's a very good point. Maybe we should start doing that. I mean, I know plenty of podcasts that are like, oh, this is like a Johnson episode, so we know what we're going to get. And I'm like, maybe we should
we should start pointing out the writers and figuring that out, because I think that would be an interesting thing for us to track, having watched all the episodes.
Exactly. But yeah, I think what I loved about that analogy is, first of all, Alan's like, it's very few people going forward. And it's mostly well-intentioned men backing up. And I like, first of all, living in LA, I could totally see like this grid of traffic of men just being like, I got it, I'm sorry, like and then also it's good because what it also says is that we're all learning. You know, it's like that's what it said to me. It's like what the mistake you're making is very common. It's comes from a good place. So we don't want to.
And also touching on Feeney being a widower again, slightly.
Yes, exactly. Showing that Feeney has experience with this, and wisdom comes from failure. Yeah. You know, like I think that's really important. I just thought that was really great.
Sure.
We show that Alan learns, and that Amy will still be a little salty.
Yeah, just a slight bit salty, right? Like, not that bad, but
yeah. So I want to talk about we hit on Alan and Amy, which I think is great. I think their storyline is good. I love the use of Amy in this episode, because usually Amy's just like a side character, or
this is the most we've seen or heard from her in a season.
Exactly, in a while. And but what I love is I want to talk about Harley and what he does, because when Harley finds out, first of all, Harley has like this machismo look, and he's just kind of very much like but he
is Danny Zuko in 1995.
He is, but like he
Thank you.
Where he's, first of all, he does listen to Gloria.
Which is surprising.
Because when Gloria's like, don't beat them up or whatever, Harley, like, he doesn't. He's like, you know what? I promise I won't touch them. It's like that whole thing where it's like, you know what? I'm listening to you. This is what you want. And
but then says Frankie beat him up. Technically, I didn't hit him.
Yeah, well, men are always going to be about technicality. Like,
Yes.
I want to do what I want to do, but like, if you tell me not to, I will look at that sentence in the English language and see how I can find a loophole. And then there's also,
but I will say, yeah, I was very, very surprised that not only did Harley kind of hear Gloria when they're at Chubby's and she's kind of saying all the things that he hasn't been doing for her, but he also takes action to be like, you know what, let me talk to someone about this. And he is the only one in the episode that talks to a woman about a problem he's having with another woman versus talking to another man about it.
That's what I loved about it. I thought it was so great that you see him, he's like, but they'll get through it. And I honestly thought that the episode would like end there and that Gloria and him would make up. Like, that's where I saw it going. And then instead, he shows up at the Matthews place, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. And he literally, he introduces himself. Mm-hmm. He is a complete gentleman. Like, he likes talking to Amy. And it's funny because you get this picture of all of the other men like coming in and being very like, what's going on? Like, who are you and why are you here? But he's at no point in time being threatening. He's very calm. He introduced himself. He was polite. He explained who he was relative to her son, and then Amy was like, how can I help you? Like, I don't know you. And he literally was like, look, I don't have another female in my life that I can go to. Please help. And I was like, dude, a man asking for help? Yeah. How great is that? Like,
from a stranger. What's also strange is just that, I mean, we haven't learned enough about Harley to know that he would actively do something like this. Like, this is other than our episode that we saw with his sister a little bit ago, this is our first time of us seeing him actively trying to accomplish something.
I disagree. I think the one with his sister showed us that Harley, again, he's tough and all this other stuff because he has to be. Like, I think the sister episode led us that he has this.
He's Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
he's a mush inside.
Exactly. He's very Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious, where he's like, I'm machismo. But then, like, at the end of it, he's like, it's about family.
By the way, that was a spot-on Vin Diesel.
It was a good Vin Diesel. I just have to say, because I haven't been watching this and I didn't know what, I just remember Harley's being a tough guy. I honestly thought he was going to be like, when he's like, oh yeah, I heard you're having troubles, like, he was just going to be like a gross guy and be like, well, I'm here. I was like,
yeah, there was that moment when he first showed up to the kitchen and I saw Amy there and I'm like, well, hold on a second. Are they about to fuck? Are they about to let out their rage and their relationships out on each other and have a little porno scene?
Because he was like, I heard you and your husband were having problems. And I was like, oh my God, why is this show going this way? And then it pivoted. I was like, oh damn, like, we're going to have a nice moment. That was so shocking.
In a bubble, because not for like half of a second did I think that. But I love that you both went there. My mind was like, oh wow, he sought out help.
He opened with like, I heard you and your husband are having trouble. And I was like, anytime some guy just goes to a woman's like, oh, I heard you're having marital problems, it's usually not like, please give me advice.
And for that moment, like, he lived up to the reputation because that's the most gangster thing I've ever heard.
So much, because I honestly, like, my mind never thought that. My mind went like, oh, you're seeking help. And you guys were like, is this a porn?
Like, not only did he beat up Corey, he also banged his mom.
But no, I think it's great. He was like, I don't have anyone. He was like, I would go to my mother, but she's passed out. Like, she's
no. Okay, so this is actually something that got brought up in the previous episode with his sister saying, you know, my mom was under the weather, implying that she had like a drug or alcohol problem. And then this episode, Harley's like, well, it's 4 PM, so she's out cold.
It's so weird that they would give them such a like backstory and
right?
character development to just drop them
off the face of the planet. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like
it's not even like much of a plot point for any of the major characters because Alan has Feeney to guide him, and like the boys aren't. I don't know how much they're really learning from this situation other than they're just trying to save themselves. So it is an interesting 100%. Choice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think it's weird because I honestly feel that if this was done now, and matter of fact, they did do it with the reboot Girl Meets World, where it's like these side characters would just be brought into it. It'd be like a Degrassi type thing. Yeah. Where it's like, we created this character, we developed this character, and they're just going to ride out with us moving forward. But back at this point in time, for whatever reason, they just like these actors, and they were like, you know what, let's give them more to do. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think they had these, Harley and Frankie and Joey, and then just throughout the series, as they're looking for storylines, they're like, well, let's pick one person to develop. Although Joey never gets developed.
But
Yeah, this
Joey's
was
like
just
a fantastic friend as is. I mean, like he doesn't really get much of a backstory, but Joey is like always and forever. Like
What's interesting is that when Harley and Gloria were arguing, and Joey tries to like calm the tension, I was like, I wonder if he hears a lot of arguing at home, and this is his role that he plays at home of just like the diffuser of tension.
but yeah, he also seems to be very like his role is, and again, like kind of like throughout the season we've seen, he's very supportive of like, and he doesn't pick sides. He's never like.
That's what I remember about him. Like,
Yeah.
He's a ride or die friend.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I'm very supportive of him. But anything else about Amy and Harley's conversation?
Well, Amy goes on to say, like he's like, what do women really want? And Amy goes on to say that all women really want is to feel appreciated. And I guess I just wanted to know how you feel about that.
I think that's true, and I think that, but to add to that is that each woman feels appreciated in a different way, and that's what I
Yes.
think a lot of, not just men, but people in general need to realize that. Yeah, I think everyone deep down they just want to be appreciated, and Amy and Gloria seem to be feeling appreciated in a similar way, and but that might not be the next person who won't feel that way. But that's too deep for these kids, and I think what you said is on point.
Yeah.
I also loved I loved that. First of all, I was like, that's my not Feeney taught me, but Amy taught me. Like, so we have a segment called Feeney taught me where we like say the lesson of the episode, and I'm like, this is like an Amy. Amy taught me that it's just like that. Yeah, the whole overall thing is that people want to be appreciated, and I like what you added to it. It's like in their way, in their specific way, because kind of back to the love languages thing, Alan does show that he appreciates Amy, but he does so in a way that's completely self-centered.
Yeah.
And then also that leads me to my next point, which I love, which is that Harley, in any other TV show, I feel like Harley would have done like a grand gesture to get Gloria back. And what he says is, no, if I'm going to give her what she wants right now is Frankie.
Yeah.
And I'll have to wait my turn and the next chance at love. And you're like, holy shit, you guys nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I mean, they kind of M-nighted you because really, if you are following the Cyrano thing, like, they kind of set him up to be that Cyrano figure who kind of lets his unrequited love go and allows the female to be happy. They discussed it in the beginning of the episode. So you're left wondering at the end, like, is he a dip or not?
Well,
is this romantic or not?
It was going to be, Frankie's ultimately the Cyrano. He's going to realize it was, she's meant to be with him and let that go. So it was like a surprising arc and change.
But good for you, TC, for also catching that, because I did not catch the fact that you're right. In the very beginning, they tell us that when you truly care, you sacrifice what you want. And as you said, I think we were kind of set up to believe that that would be Frankie being the one, but it's actually Harley. You guys just blew it. Like, I already liked this episode. You blew it out of the water for me.
Well, what's interesting too is that Harley goes like Amy. When Amy and Harley are talking in the kitchen, Alan comes in. He starts interjecting his 2 cents. And then he's like, "Who are you?" And he's just like, I'm just a fellow who took a wrong turn on the highway of love. So you have that continuation of the highway of love coming back in as well.
Exactly.
It's a well-written episode. What's interesting too, there's a part where Harley's like, I'm not into the feelings and emotions, and Amy's like, well, that's what it's all about. What has it been about for Harley up until this point? Is it just sex? Like, what is going on in these relationships that without communication and emotion, like, what is his definition of a girlfriend?
It was probably just sex. And now all of a sudden someone came in to make her feel appreciated, and it's like kind of flipped him, like tossed his head, and he's like all confused.
Exactly. There's that point where he goes, what more does she want? I'm already with her. It's like, it's that male ego of like, I'm already fucking her. I think she gets that. She's appreciated. She gets how lucky she is.
His love language is physical touch. Is that what it is? I forgot. I read that book recently.
Physical touch. Yeah, that's one of them.
So he's like,
physical touch and gift giving. I like it. I mean, like, I don't like it. Don't do that. But like,
that's what's always what TV and movies have showed us. It's physical touch and gift giving.
Yeah, I like this exploration of learning different things, and what I also really like about this is we get something that we don't really get very often, which is, especially now, which is that the boys are someone like Harley, this macho figure, being sensitive in a way that, like, he's unapologetic about it too.
Yeah.
Like, even when Eric comes in, he's like, oh, was he getting in with his getting in touch with his inner thug or something, like his sensitive thug? Amy's like shooing him away, but it's just like Harley doesn't apologize at all. He doesn't even try to like gain any status back and like put up this defense. He's just like, no, I needed assistance, and he's
almost the most secure in his masculinity more than any other character on the show. It seems, in that respect,
which like, you wouldn't expect.
You wouldn't expect it, but he also he seems genuinely hurt by Frankie betraying him, and he voices it, and he tells people like, I'm hurt by this, I'm betrayed. Like he's not shy to communicate what he's feeling, which for a character like him, you wouldn't really think that to be a characteristic.
Yeah, they really humanized him in a way that was, surprising because. At least from what I remember, is like just the bits of him being the bully. So I'm like, oh, all of a sudden this guy has a soft side, but it seems realistic.
I have only two more things I want to mention. One, we do this segment called "Turned On by Turner."
Okay.
Ooh, turned on by Turner. Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I talk about Mr. Turner and how good he looked in the episode, and. There are two scenes that we get with Mr. Turner. I think the first scene where he's in the class, again, wearing those like booty cupping jeans, like the black jeans that he's wearing.
100%.
Like that scene was doing it for me. What do you feel about Mr. Turner?
Yeah, how attracted to you to him?
Now that I'm older, I'm definitely way more attracted to him. And when I press play on the episode, I was like, because I didn't know where in the chronology I was picking up on. I was like, oh yeah, he's still here, and I was like, oh yeah, Mr. Turner, he is. Like, he would have been, like, I had the most popular teacher ever if I actually had him.
Yeah. I can't imagine I feel bad all the time because I can't imagine, like, the amount of girls who would have thrown themselves at him in the classroom,
I have a question. I know the boys are in 8th grade. What's the grades of this school? Because...
This is a fantastic question. First of all, they're in 7th grade.
They're in 7th grade. Okay, so I'm confused as to why those older people are there. But is Eric graduated already?
No.
This is a great question.
That did throw me off because I was like, he's a teacher that if I were in his shoes, I'd want to be like, I'm going to teach this grades and lower. I don't want to deal with these girls throwing themselves at me. But he's at this school with all ages. I'm like, what's happening here?
So they were in elementary school last season.
Okay.
Now they're in high school. So they live in a world in which it's K through 6 and then 7 through 12.
Okay, but Eric doesn't.
No, Eric does go to the same school as well.
Oh, okay.
Eric goes to the same school. I believe he's a junior.
Yeah, Eric's supposed to be a junior at this point in time.
Or a senior who
home before them too.
No, I think he's a senior this episode because I think this is the season where he doesn't graduate at the end. He has to redo the season.
Maybe that's why he's so home all the time.
Yeah,
and he ends up not.
Maybe that's next season, but yeah, he's definitely there. But yeah, this we talk about the age difference all the time because Harley Kiner is clearly an adult.
Yeah, they're all adults and they're picking on these 7th graders.
Yeah,
but to the point, Mr. Turner, I get it now.
Yeah,
get it. I don't think I got it as a kid. I was like, but. I get it.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I don't think I really thought of him that way as a kid, but now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, you can get it.
Yeah.
Also, Ceej, next season there are, I believe, at least one, if not multiple, tank top Turner scenes. So you have that to look forward to.
He made it past season 2. That's great.
Yeah, I know he gets a black friend because we need a.
He does get a black friend, Eli.
We get a black friend.
I feel is he a teacher too?
Yeah,
I feel like
yes. He's only around for one season though.
I feel like I don't remember anything, but I can see him being there.
Yeah. We need a black friend. I think they realize.
Especially they're in Philadelphia. I went to school in Philadelphia. I know there's some parts.
Wait, you went to school in Philadelphia?
I went to college in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So.
We have so many questions. How integrated are those schools? Because based on this television show, it does not seem like integration has really happened yet.
The city is a little bit I don't know how it was in the 90s, but everyone that I know that lived in Philly in those ages, they went to private schools, so they probably weren't that integrated. I mean, obviously, they're definitely not going to school in West Philly. They must be going up in the suburbs, and I can see that being a lot whiter. And it looks like my school, where I went to school.
Well, what's really funny about that is I did think in this episode that we're getting more of that plot line of the Matthews being the ideal family that everyone measures themselves against. Like I literally saw that where it's like Corey's like, oh, well, my family is going through this, and Harley's like, oh wait, you mean like these like your parents even have issues like this? It's not just my people. And then like,
do you remember that being like like the arching theme of like, oh, these are like the poor kids, and they're like that, how they try to intersperse it, but it does come across.
Well, what I will say is just, one thing we discussed is that Michael Jacobs was heavily influenced by shows like Leave It to the creator, heavily influenced by shows like Happy Days and Leave It to Beaver. And if you watch either of those shows, especially Happy Days, like the Cunninghams are that family that like everyone comes over and everyone talks to, and that they're kind of the center of not just Richie, but his group of friends as well. So I think that's where we're seeing, as well as the heavy 1950s influence of Harley, we're seeing that dynamic brought in as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Any other notes? Do you guys want to?
Yeah. I just wanted to talk quickly. Why does Frankie go to Sean and Corey for advice? And I know he kind of gives this explanation of like, oh, well, you're good with girls and you're like good with talking. However, one, Frankie is not friends with them. There's been no friendship built between them prior to this episode. And neither Sean or Corey have had any success with women since the season began. In fact, the whole season has been about them being unsuccessful with women. So I'm just not sure why Frankie is talking to them instead of just being frank with Harley, because it seems like Harley would have understood maybe. I don't know. Well, it just seems like that would have been a better road to go down.
This was my very last point, and I wanted to bring this out, which is that you're wrong. Sean has always been successful, and what Frankie says is that women seem to like you. Yeah. He says that.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you're right.
And then also when they set it up, because remember when Frankie's being quiet and they run into Corey and Sean. Like Corey and Sean made fun of Harley, and then he, like,
with that line where they're like, "Your hair's not greasy," he puts his hair in it and he slips on the locker.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny.
This show does like physical comedy really well. But so when that happens, they're like trying to talk their way out of it, and that was when I realized Corey's funny and Gloria's laughing at Corey.
Yeah.
Harley, in many countries, what I said about your hair, it might be considered a compliment. For example, Greece. That's funny.
Harley, why would you waste your time pounding us when you could be spending it with Claudia Schiffer's cuter sister?
Oh, I don't know that I would say cuter.
Turn it off. Turning it off, sir.
They get themselves out of trouble with Harley because of the fact that Corey's able to like be the funny one, and Sean's just like, I guess like it's charming, but he's directly hitting on Gloria.
And turning it off, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're saying that Frankie, it's not based on what he knows of Corey and Sean, but it's really just based off of that one scene where they're interacting with Gloria.
Exactly.
That I think they probably like they didn't seem that scared of Harley, and I think Frankie deep down was still a little scared of Harley. So he's like, if these kids aren't scared of him, then maybe I can learn something. From him.
Dude, Harley will bang your mom. Like you got to be careful.
All right, but I really love that you brought that up, because that was my last point, which is just the fact that we see, which we've kind of known as viewers, but it is really interesting to see these two types of males' approach to dating, which is that Corey's the funny one. Like that's what makes Corey charming, is that he's not nice like guy. As much of a sex symbol as Sean is, but like he's funny and he's like he has that timing down, and then Sean is just like the cute one, but he doesn't like ride on his looks. He's very assertive with it, and he's a smooth talker. Like he's the one who is like inside the locker talking, and I think that that was just interesting for me.
I want to know why Frankie like I guess as an audience we're supposed to support Frankie going out with his best friend's girlfriend, right? Like, that's an interesting place to put us as an audience.
I didn't think it was going to last. Like, I thought it was going to be, like, a really, like, failed misstep, and that we would be sympathizing with Frankie. I didn't think that...
Like, it paid off.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to pay off. I didn't think I'd be in the position to be like, hey, you are now dating your friend's girlfriend. That's
Yeah,
weird.
it's a very I will say that part of this episode is a surprise because when you go into it, you just think you know how this is going to play out. You think you know all the twists and turns, and it ends differently. And because of that, I think like because it takes so many twists, you're just confused by the end of it. And you're like,
exactly.
am I
Yeah, because at
happy?
one point when they're arguing at Chubby's, I thought, oh, okay, so Gloria only went out with Frankie to kind of prove a point to Harley. But then that didn't seem to be the case. She just like, no, we're broken up, and I'm banging your friend now. So that's just what I thought was strange.
I love how whenever anyone, male or female, has like I don't know, feelings towards another person or like shows interest, TC immediately is like, oh, so they're banging now.
Yeah. Probably not everyone, but Gloria seems like, well, no, maybe that was just
she seems like the type.
No, I was like, well, maybe that's just because she was with Harley. Like maybe with Frankie, they're having long talks and walks and
she's getting what she couldn't get from Harley.
Yeah.
All right.
I have two quick things I just want to throw in.
Yeah.
One, at one point, Sean's like, when they're talking about how they played Cyrano for Frankie and they're kind of freaking out, he's like, no one saw this, there's no witnesses, and without witness, there's no circumcised evidence.
Oh, yeah, I caught that one. I was like, oh.
It's just a funny Sean line.
But
and then
also,
he goes on to
it
say,
goes
like,
back to Sean's understanding of like the legal system. They always do that thing where it's like it's really clear that Sean's family is like involved in crime, and
he has so much exposure to the process of dealing with courts and legality.
I was more surprised at like the laughter at that joke. I mean, I know there's laugh signs. I was like, dude, how many? I don't know if I would have got that joke as a kid. Because I'm not thinking about, especially
circumcised evidence.
What circumcision is. Okay. What was your
There's one other thing. Sean says, he's playing this to like dress up like girls and we'll come as our cousins and say we're from out of town or something like that. The tool of dressing up men as girls to disguise them or to hide their identity is a tool that this show uses twice in the future of the show.
Well, what was funny to me is just that. I was like, I don't know if this was someone like hinting at it, or if it was, but like they do,
yeah. They did do. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought like, okay, the next scene we're gonna see them dressed up as girls because in my head I've had an image of them dressed up as girls.
Well, it's funny because it's this thing where Sean says it and then Corey's like, that'll never work, and then next season it's just like,
so in season 4 has the famous Chick Like Me episode in which Sean dresses up like a girl to write a story for a paper, and then in the college years we have Eric and Matt Lawrence dress up like girls as some like hot parody to avoid a bully or some kind of gang member situation. So it's just interesting
to watching that episode because right now that description makes no sense. That you're in college and you're like, you know what we should do? Like,
the show is full jump the shark at that point. Like Eric is lunatic at that point. Like it's.
Like, where are you getting your ideas from? To see, like,
it just tracking them, like Eric's like mental well-being down his decline.
No, I mean it is a direct parody of the movie Some Like It Hot. Like I think that's the point that they were trying to make. But yeah, it's just the reality of the show. Like there's some time travel episodes. Like we really go all over the place. Like it's 90s sitcom. Like you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, what was I gonna say? It's just on your point is like tracking Eric's decline.
He's so normal in this episode. And I was like,
it's a different character.
Eric.
One of the fan theories that we have is that the entire series is based through Corey's perception, and so it's pretty much one of those things where it's like as Corey changes his thought process of people in his life, then their character changes because it's like when he's younger, his brother's like the suave, a cool older brother, and then like right now he's starting to be on equal footing with Eric, and so Eric's starting to get a little bit dumb, and then there becomes a point where Corey's clearly more mature than Eric, and so he just sees Eric as a buffoon, and that's kind of why it switches this way, and it's more so because it's not that like Eric hasn't always been this way. It's just like Corey's perception.
I also think that the more they make Sean brooding, the more they take his kind of goofy material and pass it off to Eric.
Yeah, because what I remember is just like over the top, goofy, like dumb Eric, and I was like, oh, this guy's just kind of like chill,
Yeah.
and like he had that sense to be like, no, we're not putting our names on this card, and I was like, that's not the Eric I remember.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so bruh moments. We talk about like moments where the bruh moment is when you looked at the episode, something like kind of took you out, and you're like, whoa, like this episode either didn't hold up in 2018 or it did. Like it was something that was very, very much like a 2018 plot point.
I think this particular episode could happen in 2018. I think this one definitely is kind of a little bit more of a universal episode. It doesn't feel super dated, other than like, yeah, them being like Danny Zuko and what's her name, Sandy. Like that's the most dated this episode feels.
All right.
I was just going to say that, yeah, I don't think there was a single moment that made me go like, wow, that doesn't fly. And the reason why I was a little conscious of that was because there were so many moments in the previous episodes that we've been watching where I was like, I can't believe this. But I do agree that like the little upsets that the men have in this episode are ones that are the stories that can still be told. I don't feel like there was ever a moment where I was like, what? Except for I still think tires are a great gift. I'm sorry. That's just me. That's
I wouldn't
practical.
have thought it then, but as someone who's purchased tires, I will be very grateful if someone were to buy me tires.
I would actually say the opposite of a bruh moment, because usually a bruh moment in our show is like a moment where we're just like, wow, I can't believe people thought that was cool back then. Maybe it's like a gay joke or something that just doesn't age very well. But the opposite of that, I think Harley was super compassionate and well thought out, and he was a man who was comfortable in his sexuality, and he didn't feel the need to machismo around issues, and he actually sought help and counsel. Like, I actually thought it was like a really like a woke moment, I guess. I don't know what the opposite of a brown moment would be, but that's what I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that was what I was going to bring up, which is that this episode, when it surprised me with Harley's development and Harley's sacrifice and his willing to seek out help and show that men need to do that. Like I was really, really proud of that moment, and so yeah. All right. How about the Amy taught me? Again, I think we kind of covered it, but like the Amy taught me of this episode. What would you say is the overall lesson? Like if you had to, Erini, I'm gonna let you go first. But
I think it's what we talked about, how like Amy wants to be appreciated and everyone wants to be appreciated, but everyone has their different love languages, and she makes hers known multiple times, and she's not afraid to be like, nope, I'm not cool with this. And she wore that really great like power suit before going out to dinner, and that's when I knew she was like, I'm not taking this shit today.
I wrote that as a note too. I was like, she looks like Hugh Jackman in Greatest Showman right before she goes out for this date. And it's funny too because she's like, I'm ready for a date, and then Alan looks at her and goes, and more. Because he plans on banging that night, although it's not happening after the trash compactor.
Yeah, I do love that. Or he's like, he does some kind of caveman analogy.
Oh, when he got in trouble, he's like, oh.
Yeah, why Grunk no get gift? And like Grunk, or yeah.
Like sleep on couch.
Yeah, Grunk not sleep in cave. Yeah, I do understand. I do like that he understood that he was like primitive at that point in time.
I think another lesson of the show, which I think is probably the most apparent lesson that was taught throughout the entirety of the bit, was you don't get women tires or trash compactors, which Corey sums up perfectly at the end of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
No trash.
No trash.
Just don't get trash.
If it has trash in the title,
don't give it to them.
Give it to me. Okay, so grades. What grade would you give this episode? What grade? I
thought it was a pretty solid episode. I thought it was like a pretty like B+, A-. Like I liked it. I enjoyed it. It surprised me. It wasn't predictable in the way a lot of these sitcom episodes are.
Yeah.
I was going to say B+ as well, actually. And what I kind of liked about this episode, which I know, like I said, we've been watching these, all of them. What I liked about this episode is that Corey was more of a Hey Arnold type of character, where he wasn't really going through a journey, but he was assisting other people on their journeys. And I feel like that worked a lot better than Corey on his journey, at least the past few episodes, because it's just been a lot of like, just it's children figuring out issues without any of the wisdom that comes from the adults, and that's been the last few episodes. Whereas this one, I felt like we were able to get wisdom from Feeny, we were able to learn from Amy, and I don't know, like Ceej mentioned at the beginning of this episode, every character was there and they represented and they gave exactly what they were supposed to give. So I say B plus as well.
Yeah, and because of everything you just said, I'm gonna just give it a solid A, and I'm giving it an A for all the reasons that you said. I mean, I think that B plus is really great, but for me, compared to all the other episodes we've been watching recently, not only was it well written, we got really good comedy, but we also had a really good balance and use of each one of these characters. We get our first real Feeny moment that we had, and we get more of Amy than we've gotten. So for me, this just nailed it. It just really hit it out of the park. So
It was really well written. Like the whole idea that Cyrano, like actually like living out Cyrano while they're doing, I just thought it was really well done for a show that didn't have like this show doesn't have to infuse this ancient like this classic literary works. And I think they do a really good job of making it borderline interesting to kids who are just like, you know what, I don't know what the story's about, but based on this episode, I might want to read it and look into it. So
exactly. Oh, also, this is just something I want to note. I said Shakespeare earlier. This is not Shakespeare, so please don't.
no, yeah,
it's like
it's not. But it's
like I said Shakespeare. Ignore me. Okay, homework. Our homework is when we have like recommendations or things that we think people should check out. Do you have anything?
yeah. Oh, you know what? All right. So today's the first day of fall
It
officially.
is.
And I am kind of a Halloween head, and I'm super obsessed with Halloween and October and everything that has to do with this. So I'm gonna recommend a horror movie actually that's on Netflix. The movie is a foreign film from South Korea. It's called Train to Busan. I think I'm saying that right. Um, I'm a huge fan of actually like a lot of the foreign films that I tend to like are South Korean films. They just have a really interesting film scene, and this is a zombie movie, which I think is the most like emotionally charged zombie movie I've ever seen. Like it's the characters are so well thought out, and it's so like I don't know, like when I watched The Quiet Place, like it's about the monster, yeah, but it's really about the family, and I thought
Yeah.
that that was kind of present in this movie as well. And it's on Netflix, so it's free to watch. And if you're looking for a horror movie to watch to kind of get you in the Halloween mood, which I will be doing consistently until October 31st, yeah, just check it out because it's a really well made movie. Again, foreign subtitles, but it's really beautiful.
So on that, like I have two, but I guess I'm gonna do like half of one real quick, which is last night I saw A Simple Favor with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
Has good reviews.
Like it looks very Lifetime in the
is
trailer, but it's
so good. Like not like here's the thing. I went in there. It does have Henry Gold in it, and I went in there with like zero expectations. I knew nothing about the movie. A friend recommended we go see it, and I was like, all right, cool. And within the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
And Blake,
it's directed by Paul Feig. So.
Yeah, and then Blake Lively comes in. This woman just has no business being this gorgeous. It's disgusting. You're like, calm, like you're just watching it. You're like, oh my god. But it turns out it's like it's a little bit of a thriller. It's a little bit of a comedy. It's a little bit of a murder mystery. It's a really really good film, and it shocked me. So I recommend that. I also, based on what you were saying earlier, there is this comedy special of this comedian that I've been really a big fan of called Daniel Sloss. And on Netflix, he has this special. It's under his title Daniel Sloss Live, but there's this segment called Jigsaw, and he goes in exactly on how our generation is in love with the idea of love, and how we'll stay in relationships or we'll do all of these things because what we're being told is the most important thing that you can get in your life is love, and like if you don't have it, you're incomplete. So when you brought that up, I was like, that's so dead on for like what this special was about, and basically about. He says this thing which I really love, where he was like, if you have to love yourself first, and if you only love yourself 20%, someone can come along and love you 30%, and you're like, oh my god, that's so much. You love me so much, and he's like, that's literally less than half. Like it's less than half right off the bat. But you're just so used to not loving yourself that if anyone shows you a little bit more, you're infatuated with them. So it's a really good special. Check that out. And the last little bit that I will say is the movie Grease. I actually checked out Grease again.
It does not hold up.
It does and it doesn't, and I'll show you like this thing. But like Grease is, I mean, because of
at one point in the movie, Rizzo says, "Get out of here, guys! This ain't no gangbang."
That movie, it does say a lot of things. Like what someone pointed out to me, and I'll share this, is they were like, we come really hard on that movie. We come down really hard on that movie, but in reality, it has characters like Rizzo, she owns her sexuality.
Yeah.
Like there's this part where Danny's like, bite the pickle. He's like basically like, suck it, and she's like, with relish. She's just like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. And what? And I looked at it again and just re-examining it. It has some pretty good messages, even though there are things where you're like, yeah, maybe we could do better.
I actually think Grease 2 has better messaging, even though it's a way worse movie.
I will refuse to watch Grease 2. All right. Anything else? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to throw out any social medias out to anyone? You don't have to.
I'm currently rebranding, so.
Okay, cool. It's so funny. Like maybe I also.
Actually, I do have a food one that
I just
started my food blog because I'm learning how to cook and taking cooking classes. So it's for FOR Spork SPORK Sake SAKE.
I love it. For spork's sake.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which, by the way, I'm such a huge fan of sporks because I despise spoons and I think they're pointless.
I just think they're like the underdog and they don't get the credit they deserve.
Do they make metal sporks? Because I would get that in a heartbeat.
I don't know. I feel like someone does. I feel like on Amazon we could find them. Probably not in Target, but on Amazon we'll find some metal spork.
We have access to the entire world's resources through our phones.
Okay, so to close us out, thank you for listening to Bro Meets World. Remember, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. Make sure you leave us a rating. We love hearing from you guys. Keep messaging us on Instagram, which seems to be your faves. And you can find me on Twitter at Extra Ceej. That's XTRACEEJ. Tonathy.
You can find me at A Braver Me on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter at Anna Kendrick RT, Anna Kendrick Retweets, where I retweet everything that Anna Kendrick tweets. Been doing it for about 1.5 years now. It'll be 2 years this December. I'm never been more proud of anything I've accomplished in my life.
Well, honestly, it's really funny. When I watched A Simple Favor, I was like, TC has to watch this movie because you love Anna Kendrick so much. So
again, I picked it on random. It had nothing to do with my relationship with Anna Kendrick. I just thought it was a funny idea, and I've been doing it for so long that I can't stop now.
Okay, Erini, would you do us a favor and read this part right here?
Remember to dream, try, do good. Late, brah.
Yeah, later, brah.
Later, brah.
I didn't have the R, but that's fine. Thank you so much.
Peace.